Welcome to The Gut Show. I'm your host, Erin Judge, registered dietitian and founder of Gutivate. I'm also your fellow IBS warrior. Our goal on this side of the internet is to empower those with IBS and digestive disorders to understand their gut better, to have a healthier relationship with their bodies, and to make confident choices to improve their digestive health. During this season, you can expect a conversation around a hot topic related to gut health, digestion, and IBS. As a disclaimer, I am a dietitian, but I am not your dietitian. So everything covered in this episode is meant to be educational and is purely information that you can take back to your healthcare team in order to make the best decisions for you. If you're new here and something just doesn't feel right in your gut, if your symptoms have led you to this podcast, I invite you to start by taking the quiz, What's Your Poop Personality? Your personality type will unveil what your symptoms may mean, what may be causing them, and what you can do about them. This is a free quiz and you can take it today at gutivate.com or find the direct link below in the show notes. While you're going to take the quiz, let's jump into today's episode. Today, we are going to talk about one of my favorite foods and ingredient staples for a gut healthy diet or just a healthy diet overall, and that is ginger. Ginger is something that I would consider to be almost like a true superfood. And I don't use that word lightly because I know it's thrown out there and overused in the health and wellness space, but ginger has so many different properties to it that allow it to support digestive function, immune function, and overall health. And it's such an easy thing to add to your diet through spices, through teas, different things that are out there. Not only that, it tends to be a little bit more digestion friendly, not only because it helps digestion, but because it tends to be tolerated well, which makes it something that is more practical to include and incorporate. So today we're going to break down why ginger is such a staple, why I love it so much in the IBS space, in the gut health space, how I personally use it, and just some ideas for incorporating it into your diet if you want to add more ginger. So when we think about ginger, this is technically a root. So if you buy ginger itself, it's going to be a root and it grows like a stem kind of grows from it. But the root is what is eaten. So if you buy it as like the root itself, you may skin it, like peel it a little bit, and then eat kind of the meat of the ginger. And it is similar to what we see in like turmeric as well, which is also a root, and even kind of similar to the roots of like the bulbs that we see in garlic and onion, but it's less bulby, more rooty, and it is shaped more like a true root, but thicker than what you would expect from like a root of a house plant. But ginger root itself is full of what we call bioactive compounds, and one of them is called gingerol. So Gingerol, gingerol. This plus other bioactive compounds in ginger root have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. What this means is that the anti-inflammatory property means there may be an effect on reducing inflammation slightly. We're not typically going to reduce major amounts of inflammation just with the diet alone, but it has some support for the inflammation process. But the antioxidant property is what's really important because whenever the body is under a state of inflammation or stress, we produce oxidative stress. So there are different compounds that are produced in the body and they lead to what we call oxidative stress. Antioxidant foods or properties or compounds have the ability to reduce some of that oxidative stress, which means not only is it important to reduce the inflammation, but it's important to protect the body against the effects of that inflammation, which is where oxidative stress really plays a role. And so if we have an antioxidant rich diet, then we might be able to kind of protect and support the body. Now, those are big generalizations because, again, just adding ginger into your diet does not mean that you're combating all effects of inflammation. Everyone has a unique health history. There's a lot that can be going on inside of the body. Our bodies react to food differently. That's important to note, but there is value in incorporating antioxidant rich foods into your diet and have them in the diet more consistently. And ginger does fit into that category. So ginger might be able to help reduce inflammation in the body, protect against what we call radical damage, which is where oxidative stress plays a role. And this can help prevent disease, but also the negative effects of aging and disease, and again, stress on the body over time. When we're thinking about health and nutrition, we can use nutrition as a way to treat disease in combination with a full treatment plan. That's what we see with IBS. We're supporting the body, we are supporting, symptom management, and we hopefully are improving the health of the gut through diet, which then does help kind of treat and is part of the treatment plan. Ginger fits into that, diet, nutrition fit into that. But when we're really looking at nutrition, ideally, we're not just using nutrition reactively to what's already present in the body. We also want to use diet and nutrition proactively to help prevent disease as much as possible. And again, there's not all factors of disease are going to be within your control. And I'm saying all this nuance because I do think it's important in the health and wellness space and online, because there's a lot of really catchy headlines and a lot of big statements that people make that are true, but not 100% telling the entire story. So there's going to be parts of disease risk that are out of your control. And that's something just to be mindful about. There are also parts of disease risk that are within your control, and diet and nutrition fits into that category. Your environment, how you move your body, all of that is within your control. And so if we're thinking about preventing disease, ideally we want to use the tools that are in our control to do the best that we can. And then that helps balance out what might be out of our control, or we know that we're doing what we can with what we have, right? When that's really important. It's important to look at diet in that way and find these foods that we can incorporate more of and easily add in consistently to help with that overall quality of diet to help, again, prevent disease over time. So, specifically for digestion, ginger is something that we would call like a digestive aid. If you've ever looked at, digestion teas or things like that on the market, most often they incorporate ginger or peppermint because it can be calming and soothing to the gut. But ginger is often included. So, why does ginger have such a specific impact on digestion, and why do we recommend it for IBS and even gut health, other disease states, things like that? The first reason is that ginger has been shown to help support the release of the enzymes trypsin and pancreatic lipase. This is important because enzymes that are released during digestion help break down the compounds of foods that you're eating, break them down into smaller compounds to be absorbed, utilized by the body. And if we're not breaking foods down properly, symptoms can occur. So the lack of enzymes can lead to more symptoms, and the presence of enzymes can be supportive for overall nutrition, what we actually absorb and use from our food, but also how we feel throughout the digestion process. So ginger might be able to support some of this enzyme production and enzyme activity. This means that there may be a value in digestive capacity overall, and specifically digestive motility. So, the motility of your gut is the movement of food or nutrients through your body and through your gut through the digestion process. If you have slow motility, then you will end up with constipation, trapped gas, more bloating. If you have too fast of motility, you might end up with diarrhea or cramping and symptoms like that. So we want healthy motility, and this effect of ginger on digestive enzymes, but also just in aiding the digestive process overall, does show to improve gut motility and improve stomach emptying, which is part of motility in the upper part of the GI tract. This can help prevent against constipation, gas, bloating, and even indigestion or GERD-like symptoms. And then one study actually showed, kind of looking at this specifically, that 1.2 grams of ginger powder before a meal increase stomach emptying by 50%. So if you are dealing with sluggishness of the gut overall, ginger might be helpful to help kind of speed things along and promote better motility. But if you're specifically dealing with slow stomach emptying, like gastroparesis, this may have, even more benefit, and maybe something to incorporate that can then reduce symptoms without leading to like a lot of restriction in the diet or anything like that. So can help with improving digestion of meals and also motility after eating. Not only that, ginger has also been shown to help relieve GI irritation, stimulate saliva, which is like your spit, and bile production, which are both needed for digestion, and suppress gastric contractions, stomach contractions, as food and fluids move throughout the GI tract. So that helps reduce cramping, pain, and even hypersensitivity that we see in those with IBS. The reason is that ginger might be able to kind of relax and calm the gut muscles. So, helping speed them along, having that promotility effect, but also calming the muscles along the way so that they're not hyperactive. And then again, helping with each part of the digestion process. And if you think about that like a conveyor belt, right? If every piece of the belt is moving smoothly, everyone's doing their job properly, the product that you're trying to produce gets produced well without hiccups, right? But if the production line is slowed down, if it's not working in certain areas, if, someone showed up late or they're way behind on their quota, then you might end up with less product than you needed, or it just might be total chaos. And the same can be true of your digestive tract. And so if we're able to help stimulate all the secretions throughout the digestive system, help stimulate motility and the movement of the digestive system properly, and help kind of keep the muscles relaxed and calm along the way, then we're able to have a less chaotic experience with digesting food. And ginger may play a role in that and be supportive in that way, which is really important. And specifically for those with IBS, not only are we looking at all of these symptoms, but the hallmark symptom of IBS that sets it apart from chronic constipation, chronic diarrhea, just indigestion overall, is the presence of pain. And if we're able to relax the muscles and kind of make digestion efficient, reduce some of those sensations in the body that are then communicated back to the brain, we can reduce pain. And reducing pain with IBS is where a lot of the money for like medication development goes into. Reducing pain is a huge side effect that we're looking for with treatment. And so if we're able to utilize food that's also supporting overall health, adding flavor, adding enjoyment, if we're able to use that to also reduce pain and overall symptoms, it's a win-win in the IBS world and also beyond. Looking at other symptoms that aren't necessarily hallmarks of IBS, but are seen in many people with chronic digestive symptoms, ginger and nausea have an interesting relationship. So the most evidence in ginger's role with like health and symptoms is in reducing nausea. One study found that ginger was as effective as prescription medications for nausea. So you'll often see ginger in like anti-nausea, like chews, gummies, suckers, things like that. Even for people who are going throughout pregnancy, a lot of times ginger is used. Ginger candies are often marketed for nausea for this reason, because it can be very effective for nausea. We tend to see an increase in nausea in those living with constipation. So again, this is why I would recommend more ginger for people with constipation. But also if you're dealing with nausea around certain meals, certain times of the day, incorporating ginger beyond just medication can be helpful. The downside of some medications for nausea, like what we see with like Zofran, is that they can have other side effects. And constipation being one of them, which can be tricky if you already deal with constipation and constipation worsens your nausea. It can cause, more disruption than what you're looking for, what you want. And so utilizing ginger, finding some other options beyond medication can be really effective and really helpful. This can also be really helpful throughout menstrual cycles where we see changes in hormones contributing to nausea and just that overall discomfort, low appetite, things like that, travel, whatever trigger may be present. This is a good option for support during those periods of time.
Are you listening to today's episode with the main thought being, what are the steps that I can take to get rid of my symptoms right now? While I hope that the information that we share in every episode of The Gut Show leaves you feeling more empowered and more confident in your body, it's not always going to solve your problem or give you a clear direction for your specific symptoms and your needs. The Master Method membership is an online program for the person with chronic digestive symptoms and IBS who wants step-by-step guidance to understand their body, address the drivers of IBS, reduce symptoms, and build resilience in your gut long-term. This membership includes a step-by-step course and a dietitian-led community that teaches you how to holistically address each symptom and the IBS drivers, how to reduce symptoms more strategically and with confidence, and guidelines for better gut health long-term so that you're not only thinking about today, but you're also improving your outcomes in the future. It is time to ditch the symptoms and get your life back. The membership is your first step. You can learn more and enroll at ibsmastermethod.com and use the code GUTSHOW, GUTSHOW, GUTSHOW for $25 off your enrollment fee. Now, let's get back to today's episode.
Studies on the role of ginger in IBS treatment specifically are limited. They're a bit conflicting. So we still need some more research on exactly how ginger treats IBS. But, some of the things that we talked about already, there are places where ginger can fit in and possibly be more supportive and play a beneficial role. So other than ginger being supportive for digestion, one thing I love about it is that it is very digestion friendly and IBS friendly. It helps you add flavor. It adds a spice, it adds depth, it adds a different flavor profile to dishes or teas or whatever you're incorporating throughout your day without causing more symptoms. Ginger is low FODMAP and ginger is not very gas causing. Like it tends to be tolerated very, very well. And in very high doses, sometimes people will see a relaxation of that lower esophageal sphincter and a little increase in reflux. But in smaller portions, more throughout the day or just added to meals, not in a supplement form, this tends to be very well tolerated. And so it's something that can easily be added without a lot of fear or risk of more symptoms, like what we see with other kind of antioxidant anti-inflammatory type of foods that are out there. So I love that working in the IBS space and having IBS myself. It feels like a safe and effective option to try. And again, outside of very high doses and supplements, there's really no harm done adding ginger in. And so you can add flavor, add interest, add diversity to your diet without much risk, which is, again, a win win when we're thinking about supporting health with some of these other barriers in place like IBS. So it's something that you can do, something that you can incorporate in a way that you prefer. And if you've never tried ginger, there is an interesting profile to it, but you can also mix it with other flavors to change up the flavor profile. So it is a bit bold and spicy. It has more of a spice to it than what you'd expect from like a garlic or an onion or those bulbs. It's a little bit more spicy than even a turmeric. I would say turmeric is a bit more on the mild side of what ginger tastes like. But you can mix it with things that are a bit sweeter, like soy sauce or aminos. You can mix it with lemon. You can mix it with honey. A lot of teas will incorporate those ingredients to kind of combat the spiciness with sweetness. And I would recommend playing around, especially in the tea space, play around with different flavor combinations if you don't know if you like ginger or not, and if the spiciness of it isn't really attractive to you. I personally love the spice and I tend to lean into that. I like more of a ginger turmeric or ginger fennel licorice, very spice forward teas myself. And whenever I incorporate ginger into recipes, I like the spice it adds. So I tend to add a little extra because I like the kick and just that depth that it provides to dishes for me. But if you don't like that, that's okay. You can find other ways to enjoy it or add it in a way that might work better. You can also just completely cover it up, add it in, but cover it up with other spices, other flavors that you do love, and still get it in without necessarily tasting it. That's definitely an option. So, some ideas for adding ginger in: you can buy ginger ground as a spice. That is a really great option if you're just kind of playing around with it. You don't want to deal with like fresh ginger and the preparation of that. Add it as a spice and just mix it in. I would recommend ginger and turmeric. Turmeric also has some anti-inflammatory effects to it, as it can be really effective for disease risk over time and health. So incorporating both of those just dashes into every meal that you eat, especially more of the savory meals, and that can be really effective. You can also get it minced or more of like a kind of pureed form. I tend to keep this on hand, keep it in the refrigerator, and I look for just ginger in there, so it's not going to last forever. But this is really great to add to stir fries. I'll add this to anything kind of more savory that I'm cooking that's more like amino based, more like Asian flavor profiles. So stir fry, curries, ramen, anything along those profiles, I always add a good amount of minced ginger. And I prefer that because it's a little bit more convenient. Another option is to chop up the actual root. So again, you would kind of work around the edges and try to trim off the skin of it, the peel of it. It doesn't peel off very easily, so you kind of have to like cut it off, sort of like a potato or sweet potato. And then you can chop up the inner parts of it. You can also use like a cheese grater and kind of grate it over dishes, or you can chop up into big chunks like the ginger root itself and make a tea out of it, which is the second way to incorporate more ginger into your day is to add tea. So you can make your own by chopping up chunks of fresh ginger root, put it in a cup, add honey if you want, add other spices if you want, pour hot water over it, steep it, you make a tea. It can be very delicious. That's a great option. I've done this many times as well, but again, I lean more towards convenience. You can also buy teas that incorporate ginger. And the good thing is that ginger makes a fantastic tea. So if you go to a tea shop and you want loose leaf tea, there will be so many options for ginger, and you're going to find them on the spicy side and the sweet side. So there's lots of different combinations that you can look for that can be helpful. I tend to buy just like the Tazo. I like that option. But there are different options of teas that you can get at the grocery store that have ginger. Sometimes you can find just plain ginger, especially because a lot of ginger teas are mixed with higher FODMAP ingredients like licorice or fennel. Usually the amounts in each tea serving are still pretty low, so again, tend to be tolerated really well, but you can look for more lemon ginger, which is available, or just ginger. There are some options for that as well, but those can be really great options to just easily add in ginger throughout the day. I love ginger tea at the end of the day. That's my ritual. I mix a fiber supplement into it and drink it every night. It is soothing. I start my day with my coffee ritual. I end it with my tea ritual, even whenever I travel. And that feels so soothing on my gut. So I love that. I also will recommend it for many clients after meals, especially if they're dealing with that kind of bloating, sluggishness after meals and throughout the day. Then that can be really helpful to incorporate. Another option is to utilize ginger chews or ginger candies. I know the company like the Ginger People, like they make this. Gingins is another example. Sometimes these do have sugar added in them, so we don't necessarily want to incorporate these in excess or bulk, but these are really great to have on hand for nausea specifically. The amount of ginger in the chew or the candy may not necessarily aid in motility, so it might not be as effective for constipation as adding to the dish that you're eating, supplemental forms or teas. But through the candies, you're going to get kind of a slow release of it, and that might help more with nausea or even some upper GI motility. So that could be something that you can incorporate that can be helpful. And then there are encapsulated ginger supplements that you can buy. These are often used for a pro motility effect. So we see this in like the SIBO world, the constipation world. This is not something I would recommend that you go start on your own without consulting with a dietitian that's working with you one to one or just your trusted medical provider, because no supplement is fully benign. Supplements will always carry risk. And when we're thinking about ginger, the amount in those capsules is very high. It's a lot more than what you're typically going to get through food. And that's why it can be effective for some cases, but it also could cause other harm. And that's where you could get into some of the problematic areas with it. And so you do want to make sure you're discussing that with a medical provider like you would any supplement, just to be safe and make sure that it's right for your body. I would start with food and teas and those things first, but a ginger supplement could be an option and sometimes can be a really effective alternative to at least start out than some medications that are out there for gut motility, constipation, things like that. So it is an option, definitely something to discuss with your provider just in case it might be a good fit for you. And if you are like, well, I'm navigating all of this on my own and I have no idea how to do any of this, like I don't know what's best for me and what to do, I feel kind of stuck, then consider working with our team. We have one-to-one programs, we have availability, and we would love to kind of partner with you, be your team member, help assess what's going on and guide you every step of the way. So if you're interested in that, all the information is always found in the show notes, but our team would love to help because we like a food first approach where we can get it. And we love putting our clients at the center of their own care to really empower them to get their confidence back and know deeply how to take care of their bodies and build that intuition. That's something that we really value here at Getivate. And so if you are interested, check out the show notes. You can schedule a consult call and see if it's a good fit for you. I'm leaving you with just a note and a challenge to give ginger a try. And if you think maybe you don't like it, again, go to the grocery store, maybe try a few different tea options to start, or grab the spice and just play around with it, get creative with it, and see if you can find a combination or flavor profile that you like it best in so that it can become maybe part of your diet and be one other tool that is supporting your health in the long run.